have you seen any examples of quote-unquote over-involvement by owners in retirement? I know that I definitely have, so I'd love to hear what you've seen.
Yeah, and of course I've seen it. The companies that are larger, right, been around for a long time, they've gotten out of the mode of the over-involvement because as the new CEO comes in, right, there's clarity around what this person's going to do. There's really pretty much clarity around how long they're going to do it. There's a people, process, and technology in place that the succession planning is already there. So when someone is moving out, there's several years notice. There are ways that you move, out of being president up to being CEO, and then you move to the board. There's a progression out in the larger companies. What happens with the owners, certainly of those family-owned, of those that the founder had it, and this is their retirement, what you tend to find is, one, is they didn't know really why they retired. They thought it was time. And just because it's time, by other people's standards, doesn't necessarily mean it's time for you to go. But there was no clarity as to why they were leaving. The real thing I tend to see is that the over-involvement, I hate to say it, but again, there's just no role clarity on what that person is supposed to be doing. If they are retired, as in 100% retired, there needs to be a tough conversation as to what their involvement's going to be. Are they going to just still be the face of the company and come in a couple days a week? Who's in charge? Are they going to step back and let the son or daughter, be in charge? It really makes it tough, and especially if they don't necessarily agree, right? You've got dad, you've got the son or daughter. Dad would have made one decision, the son or daughter trying to make another, and that really makes it difficult for the company to move forward when they don't really know who's in charge. So I get back to, it's not really over-involvement, it's lack of clear involvement. And that's where you come in with, what is the role? What is the role that the new person is moving into? Is that so clearly defined that it's impossible to misunderstand? What is the role of the person retiring? And if they're going to take 5 or 6 or 7 years to do it, what does that role mean? And is everyone clear on what's happening? So, I see people picking at things, being around, just their presence is both good and bad. But again, I don't know, David, maybe you see it the same way or maybe a little differently, but to me it certainly always comes back to just the lack of clarity on what everybody's supposed to be doing.
I think, I agree 100% with you. It's clarity, and there's also some things when you look at large organizations, even outside construction. You look at the military. When there's a succession, say in the military, there's a ceremony and it's done, and there's literally a changing of the guards that occurs, and where that new incoming leader understands with absolute clarity they are responsible for everything in that unit. They can't blame the other or anything like that. They're responsible. They're inheriting everything, and it's their responsibility from here on out. And the outgoing leader is standing down. And when you see companies like a Procter & Gamble, they have a very structured system, and so the CEO, the outgoing CEO, when that transition's made, they still stay in the building for a year, but they move to a completely different floor because it is so easy, just the presence, like Sue said, of good and bad. So outside of clarity of roles and responsibilities, just those little conversations when somebody's walking past an office to the new president's office, and they walk past the founder's office, there's such a tendency to go in there and go, "Hey, Joe, how's it going?" and start chatting things up. And that can be very, very disruptive for the new president that is trying to go assume the role. let's say the new president also, as Sue is, described, a lot of times when companies go through a transition, they're also leading through a different inflection point. And so the leader that was selected to, say, get a company from A to B or B to C is usually the business dynamics are very different as that business is going from C to D and kind of that next leg of the growth. And so the leader is going to make different decisions, have different approaches to people. Maybe the first leader was very field focused. The second generation of leader was very business development focused. The third generation of leader needs to be very people and culture focused. There's no one perfect mold, but a lot of times the decisions and even the conversations that are had are just a little bit off. So it's not that you just walk out the door and never return, but it really has to be mapped out well and discussed. And you've got to look at outside organizations that have been doing that very well for a long time. I think, this is one of the biggest challenges we see. Now, where we see the biggest problem with over-involvement are the owners that didn't have their retirement masterpiece, the ones that know clearly what they want to do next. We don't have any trouble at all with them having over-involvement because they know what they're heading off to next. So
you're exactly right about that, and that over-involvement is really just someone that they don't know what to do next, but they know they shouldn't be doing what they were just doing, and you're right. Those that know where they're going, what their next step is, like any succession plan, whether that succession plan is a move up, is a move sideways, is even a move to even a lower level. If it's something that the person has bought into, totally understands, and is ready for, those transitions can happen very easily. Those that, again, are not made clear lead for over-involvement, because where's the person going to go if they don't know what they're doing where they are? They're going to go right back to what they were doing when they understood it. And that's what happens, right? That founder or president just can't not do it because they don't have anything else that they've thought enough about in their own retirement masterpiece to move forward into.
And making the matter worse, in most cases, that outgoing owner is going to be financing the transaction, and so their capital is going to be at risk for a period of time while that baton's being handed off. And so that over-involvement tends to get exacerbated by that dynamic.